Welcome to the Diverse Minds podcast, where we give you the tips, tools, and techniques you need to be a mentally healthy and inclusive leader. Each week, you'll hear about a variety of topics linked to mental health, well-being, and diversity that will enhance both your professional practice and personal well-being. Welcome to the 159th episode of the award-winning Diverse Minds podcast. And for September, the focus of the podcast is personal development. And this week, I'm going to be highlighting 6 reasons why personal development is important and why you should get involved. So personal development is something we hear spoken about in school, workplaces, personal spaces. And it's all about activities that are designed to help us reflect on our talents, improve our skills, potential, employability, and career opportunities. And I think personal development is really important because it allows individuals to become the best versions of themselves and meet our potential. And in that process, we can also network and connect with people and build bigger communities for ourselves. And not only that, but it gives you the skills to plan and move forward to navigate workplace situations as well as personal ones. And personal development is not just limited to a specific part of adulthood. So I'm midway through my career, I can start thinking about personal development. I actually think it happens as a teenager or even as a child when we do hobbies or after school activities. And it's that incremental dedication and awareness to keep up with the natural ebbs and flows of life when we need to plug particular gaps or do things. And it helps us to further our pathway knowledge and helps us to make better decisions with the knowledge that we acquire. Now, I realize this can be much easier said than done. When life might throw you a little subliminal message, the guidance isn't always obvious. And if you're going through the motions, you're overwhelmed, you're trying to make ends meet, and things are really difficult, the last thing you want to do is take a step back, probably, and think about, okay, where do I need to go? What do I need to do? Because there's so many things that you are juggling. But the idea is that maybe we don't necessarily go on a weekend residential program, but a slight shift in mindset that allows us to start thinking about, well, how do I want to do things? Do I want to do things differently? This idea of growth and self-reflection to think about where we want to be. And it might be that we've talked about side hustles quite a lot in the podcast recently. It might be that you've got a side hustle and you want to be able to grow it, but you need to keep your job because you need the finances in place. And taking a step back and self-development can really help with that. And I've got a few questions to get you thinking, to get you in the mindset of personal development and why it's important. So firstly, if it was an ideal world, what would you be doing with your time and your energy? How would you spend it? Secondly, if you are unhappy in your current job, what other things would you want to do? Third question, if you had unlimited resources to make changes in your life, what would these changes look like? And finally, what are some simple changes you could make to your routine to work towards this vision? Now, for many of you, it might be winning the lottery and quitting work altogether. And I totally hear that. So think about it in the ideal world, absolutely. And if that's what you want to do, great. And then also maybe think about it in terms of, what would I do realistically? So what I still have to work. What would that ideal with the circumstances I'm currently in look like as well? And when we don't focus on personal development and we go through the motions, we are actually not being true to ourselves. We're kind of letting ourselves down, and no one has your best interest at heart more than you do. So it's really important that you do this for yourself, but you may need more time to think about what that is. So it is about committing to the small shifts in life for the better that will be a positive thing that you can do, even if you don't feel that you're moving fast enough. But focusing on yourself can have really marked results. And you don't just have a better relationship with yourself by connecting to your desires and what you want to do, but those around you, and you're likely to be and feel more content. So is this your first show or are you a regular listener? And if you enjoyed this episode, please, why not leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast from? And if you're enjoying the content, why not join my bi-monthly newsletter? And when you join my newsletter, you'll receive a free copy of my ebook, The Mentally Healthy Leading Manager. And the link is bit.ly/MHLMEBK21. And that link is also in the show notes. Okay, so what are the 6 reasons that personal development is important? So I'm going to kick off, and actually there are more than 6. So you can probably think of your own, but I wanted to kick off with a few key ones for this episode. So firstly, I think personal development and taking a step back to reflect allows you to look at your talents. And often we don't do that. So, personal development enables you to reflect on your strengths. You can highlight your skills, things you didn't realize that you could do, or maybe you're underestimating. And if you're unsure about what can be considered a talent, think about things that you can complete really easily that other people think, wow, how do you do that? You feel sort of very comfortable in your flow doing it. And if you're interested in that, don't forget my work-life balance series where I talk more about that. And you could do it on your own. You can almost do it with your eyes closed. You don't need anyone telling you what to do or any guidance. So as you kind of think about that, think about your talents. So you know where you stand, and thinking about your talents and where you want to take those talents. Maybe you're using them in your day-to-day work or job. Maybe you're not, and you'd like to do more with your talents. The second thing is it's about motivation. So when we reflect on our talents, take a step back, think about personal development, we can actually stay motivated in both a personal capacity and a professional capacity. Now, motivation's a tricky one, isn't it? Because people often talk about the fact that you don't just get motivation. You often have to sit there and force yourself to do something, and the motivation comes, whether it's exercise, sending an email, planning a party that seems quite daunting, whatever it is. But when we think about our personal development, that can help our motivation. So it can really give us that kick that we need, and that fire and that energy to think about the fact that, you know what, actually, I do want to use my talents more. And it can help you create a personal development plan to bring you more satisfaction in what you're doing, and also to push you forward. So maybe there is some training you want to do. Maybe there are some new skills you want to learn. And that's the other thing. If we stay stagnated and we don't keep pushing ourselves and we don't keep learning, we actually get bored. So that assessing the talents, then thinking about that motivation is really, really important. The third thing is it increases your confidence. And we know as humans, when we push ourselves out of our comfort zone, when we start to learn new things, and initially we might not be very good at it, but as time goes on and we put our energy into it, absolutely we can increase confidence. That does increase our confidence. So when we do something different, when we maybe push ourselves out of there, we can get motivated, and there's a positive energy, and it then tends to shine through and come forward in the other things that we do. And it's also really lovely to just take time out for yourself and think, yes, I can do this. The fourth reason is actually related to the workplace, because if we as workplaces give people time and space to have personal development moments and opportunities, creates a really positive workplace culture, because of course you're increasing motivation and confidence, which makes someone feel positive about the workplace, and it creates a healthy work culture. It also encourages employees to ask questions, take risks, have discussions, work more collaboratively, and produce more high quality work. The fifth thing is it provides a sense of direction, and we all need that. So yes, there'll be times where we just need things to keep ticking over and we need to keep going, and that's completely understandable. But eventually you'll come to a crossroads and think, is this thing that I'm doing day in, day out really giving me this sense of direction or purpose? So when we can take a step back and decide what our purpose in life is and map out the steps, that is actually a form of personal development. And it can feel very like a big thing to do. But we can think about our talents, what gives us motivation, what helps our confidence, and then we can build this sense of direction. So to help you push forward and move forward. And it enables you to take the necessary steps to reflect on your life and practice that self-reflection, which some people are great at doing. I have to be honest, I'm not great at doing it. So this is really useful for me. And sometimes decisions that we procrastinate over, if we start to think about our values, our awareness, our confidence, and what helps us, we can actually start to create that sense of direction much more easily, and it stops us procrastinating and feeling overwhelmed or out of control about the direction our life is heading in. And finally, it increases creativity. So you'll know that I recently did podcast series, podcast numbers 153 to 156 inclusive, all about art, creativity, and mental health. And of course, personal development really helps promote our creativity, not just in the workplace, but beyond it. So if we start stop thinking about this as a paper-based activity. So we don't have to do it in lists. We can create collages. We can think about personal development in the wider sphere. I mentioned side hustles. We can actually bring that innovation into all aspects of our life. So it's not about being perfect, but it's about thinking creatively about what you want to do and how you want to do it. So remember, personal development is very much part of our journey, both professionally, personally, and both. It enables us to see where we are, where we need to go, and how we're going to get there. It helps us with resilience to remind us of the journey that we've been on to date and how we can keep going. There are both individual and workplace benefits of personal development. And of course, everyone's personal development journey is different. So it might be quite nice to share yours and hear other people's, but know that everyone's journey is different. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Please do leave me a review or join my bi-monthly newsletter to hear more from me. And the resources are podcast episodes 153 to 156 that talk about arts and creativity to support mental health, and a link to Allegra Media Design's blog, Why Personal Development is Important. So I hope to see you in the next episode, where we'll be talking about mentoring in this month's series on personal development. And until then, everyone, take care.
Thanks for listening to the Diverse Minds podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you access your podcasts from. You can also connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Tune into next week's episode of the podcast, where I'll bring you more insights on mental health and inclusion. Bye for now.